made a picnic, and did it my wife and one were.
We'll call the meeting to order for Wycomico County Legislative Session 2023-10
from May 16, 2023. Those that like to stand and join us in the Lord's Prayer and Pledge of Allegiance, please do.
Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us.
And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, glory forever. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Entertain a motion from council to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any corrections, changes, discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Consent agenda is approved. This time we have 4 proclamations today. First one is a proclamation to recognize National EMS Week. Mr. Lorenzo Cropper is here. How are you, sir?
Fine, sir, thank you.
You brought some company?
Not today.
Not today. And Director of Emergency Services, I'm sorry. And the proclamation will be read by at-large Representative James Wynn. Yep. We're going to go to the podium. Do it over there. How are you? Morning.
How you doing? I hadn't read this yet, so go with me. Proclamation 2023 National EMS Week. Whereas emergency medical services are a vital public service and the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Thank you. Whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas emergency medical services fill a gap by providing out of hospital care, including preventative medicine and follow-up care. And whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medicine technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, and nurses. And whereas the members of emergency medical service teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Wycomico County Council and the County Executive hereby proclaim May 21st through the 27th, 2023 as National EMS Week. There you go.
Next item on the agenda, proclamation to recognize National Police Week. We have the Honorable Sheriff Mike Lewis here. Glad to have you here with company. The proclamation will be read by Councilman Jeff Merritt. Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, sir. Morning. Morning. Good morning.
Good to see you guys. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This is National Police Week. We recognize and honor the service of all of our law enforcement, and as well as the memory of those who are no longer with us, and recognize their sacrifice. So I am honored to do this proclamation. Whereas in 1962, President Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the calendar week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas the Wycomico County Sheriff's Office plays an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms which have been guaranteed by the Constitution to all citizens, and whereas it is important that people know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of police departments, and that law enforcement officers recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property. by protecting them against violence or disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. Now, therefore, the Wicomico County Council and the County Executive hereby designate the week of May 14th through 20th, 2023 as National Police Week in Wicomico County, and urge all citizens to pay tribute to our law enforcement officers done this 16th day of May 2023, signed by our County Executive and the Wicomico County Council. Should we do a picture first? You,
Please speak.
please.
I'm a little shy, but I'll have a couple of things to say. For the men and women in this room, I want you to know that this was the first year of National Police Week since Deputy Glenn Hilliard was shot and killed. We left early Saturday morning following Glenn's widow Tashika's graduation from nursing school. She graduated Friday night. Saturday morning, about a dozen members of the Wicomico County Sheriff's Office left to go to Washington, D.C. to join the Hilliard family for their first ever National Police Week. And it was an honor to represent the men and women of Wicomico County up in Washington, D.C. There were 556 new names added to the wall this year of law enforcement officers. Those were just the ones that were actually killed in the line of duty. But there were another 556 names. 3 of those names were from the state of Maryland. Glenn being the only police officer having been shot and killed. The other 2 experienced COVID deaths that were on-duty related COVID deaths. So on behalf of the men and women of Wicomico County, I want to thank the men and women of this council, our county executive, for this proclamation. I want to thank you all for recognizing the heroic efforts, and I do mean heroic efforts of the men and women of Wicomico County and what they do for the citizens in protecting this county. But it's an honor to serve. It's an honor to protect everyone in this county, all 103,000. They say between 103 and 107. I'm not sure which one is accurate. But when you're out there in the trenches every day, it seems like the 107 is more accurate than the 103. I got to be honest with you. So thank you guys. Thank you for allowing us to be here. It's our honor to represent Wicomico County in Washington, D.C. this week. Thank you all. Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have a proclamation to recognize National Public Works Week. We have Ms. Heather Langford, Acting Director of Public Works here. Mr. Josh Hastings will be reading the proclamation.
If everybody wants to just come and line up right on behind. All right, this proclamation is National Public Works Week, whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to public health, high quality life, and well-being of the people of Wicomico County. Whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are responsible for rebuilding and improving and protecting our transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. Now, therefore, the Wicomico County Council and the County Executive hereby designate the week of May 21st to 27th, 2023 as National Public Works Week in Wicomico County, and urge all citizens to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, employees, and to recognize substantial contributions they make to protecting our health, safety, and quality of life done the 16th day of May 2023, signed by the County Executive and all members of the Council. Before we get a picture, Ms. Langford, anything you'd like to say?
Just real quick, if you don't mind. I brought a few team members with me because I know that my name was on the list, but it is without this team that we would not be able to do the jobs that we do. So this is just a few of the large team that work in extreme temperatures, dangerous equipment, severe storms, holidays, checking for gas leaks, knee-deep in trash or sludge, under multi-ton vehicles doing repairs, operating ferries, greeting at waste stations, limbing, patching, scheduling, and taking calls at all hours. And for that, I'm very appreciative of my team.
y'all can come right around the podium.
Step on up there, Andrew. Thank you.
Next, we have a proclamation to recognize Correctional Officer 2, Catherine Cormier, as the 2022 Employee of the Year of the Wycomico County Department of Corrections. Vice President Shane Baker will be reading the proclamation.
How are you? Good to see you. Are you the lucky lady? I am. Hi, how are you? Stand up side. Don't be shy. So this is a proclamation for Correctional Officer 2, Catherine Cormier, 2022 Employee of the Year. Whereas CO2 Catherine Cormier began her career at the Wycomico County Department of Corrections as a correctional officer on April 11th, 2019, and quickly learned all aspects of being a correctional officer, and was promoted to the rank of Correctional Officer 2 on March the 11th, 2022. And whereas CO2 Cormier performed her duties and responsibilities flawlessly and served as an example of professionalism, optimism, and diligence, and whereas CO2 Cormier was recognized for her outstanding quality work and her continuous improvement, her teamwork, and her dedication by being nominated and selected as Employee of the Month for March 2022. And whereas CO2 Cormier always greets everyone with a big smile and continues to promote and motivating positive attitude, and is always calm and diligent in her duties without complaint, no matter the circumstances. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Wycomico County Council and the County Executive hereby congratulate CO2 Cormier as being selected as the 2022 Officer of the Year, done this 16th day of May, 2023. Congratulations. I'd
like to say my ultimate goal is to learn more, to work harder, be the best teammate I can. That way, the things that I learn, I can bring other people with me, and together we all going to succeed together.
Thank you. Congratulations. Good seeing you all again. See you. Good seeing you.
Good morning, Ms. Hurley.
Good morning, Mr. President, council members, ladies and gentlemen. The first item on the agenda this morning is a public hearing on the constant yield rate. The constant yield rate is a hypothetical county real property tax rate that is calculated by the Maryland Department of Assessment and Taxation that would generate the same amount of revenue in fiscal year '24 that was generated the previous year, which in this case is fiscal year 2023. As the county's assessable real property tax rate increases, the constant yield tax rate decreases. By Maryland law, if the real property tax rate is set at a level above the hypothetical constant yield rate, a public hearing must be held. The county executive has submitted a proposed budget for fiscal year '24 with a tax rate that is lower than this year's fiscal year's tax rate, but is higher than the hypothetical constant yield rate. A public hearing notice was posted on the county's website and in the local newspaper stating that a public hearing would be held today at 10 a.m. And this hearing is not about the actual budget, but it's about the constant yield rate. And the budget will be adopted on June the 6th at 6 p.m. in the Government Office Building, room 301.
Thank you, Ms. Hurley. At this time, we open the floor for public hearing on the constant yield rate for Wycomico County. If you have any comments you'd like to make, come to the podium. Please state your name, your county of residence, and your concerns. All right, that concludes the public hearing on the constant yield rate.
Okay. Next is Resolution Number 68-2023. This is extending the date for the adoption of the annual budget and appropriation bill from June the 1st to June the 15th. Charter Section 705F provides that the annual budget and appropriation bill shall be adopted by the County Council not later than June the 1st, or such date as may be set by resolution, and that is pursuant to Section 707 of the Charter, but no later than June the 15th. Extending the date for the adoption of the annual budget and appropriation bill will allow council additional time to further review and discuss the county executive's proposed budget. Also, June 1st is on a Thursday, and the next regular scheduled council meeting is on June the 6th. So this will allow council to adopt the budget during a regular meeting unless a special meeting is needed.
Thank you, Ms. Hurley. Entertain a motion from council to approve Resolution 68-2023.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution passes.
Okay, next for your consideration is Resolution Number 69-2023. This is authorizing DeCarlo Precision Instrument Incorporated as the sole source vendor to provide Sokia robotic products, which supply the latest technologies in survey positioning, mapping, and 3D documentation needs, and training for vehicle accident/crash reconstruction. You'll notice that there is a SM behind the resolution number. This means that the resolution requires a supermajority vote for it to pass, meaning 5 council members must vote in favor of it.
Thank you, Ms. Hurley. Entertain a motion to approve Resolution 69-2023.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution number 69-2023 passes unanimously.
Okay, next is Resolution Number 70-2023. This is a submission of an appointment to the Board of Appeals and confirming the appointment of Michael L. Hoy Sr. as a member of the Board of Appeals. In accordance with Charter Section 315, the county executive has submitted Michael Hoy Sr. as a member of the Board of Appeals. This board reviews applications for special exceptions and variances from the county zoning code based on information presented by the applicant and supplemental data provided by staff members.
Entertain a motion from council to approve Resolution 70-2023.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution passes.
Next for your consideration is Resolution Number 71-2023. This is declaring that Red Brick Holdings LLC is eligible to receive Maryland State Enterprise Zone benefits for property located at 117-119 West Main Street, Salisbury, Maryland. And in order for a business to qualify for Enterprise Zone benefits, it must meet one of the 2 statutory requirements, which are that the business must either make an investment in capital improvements of more than $50,000 or hire new employees since it has been located in the zone. Red Brick Holdings LLC is eligible for Enterprise Zone benefits because of its investment of more than $50,000 in the property. And we do have Ms. Laura Soper here if there's any questions.
Entertain a motion from council to approve Resolution 70-2023.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of Resolution 70-2023 say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Resolution passes.
Okay, the next item for business is Resolution Number 72-2023. This is to accept a grant award from the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention, Youth, and Victim Services for criminal justice for supplemental funding related to special projects funded under the Maryland Police Recruitment and Retention Grant Program in the amount of $45,827. And we have Captain Tim Robinson, or I'm sorry, we have the majors here.
Entertain a motion from council to approve Resolution 72-2023.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Questions? Seeing none. All those in favor of Resolution 72-2023, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Resolution passes.
Thank you.
Mr. President, that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Hurley. I'd like to say good morning to Delegate Carl Anderson. Glad to have you here, Carl. This time we open the floor for public comments. If you have any comments you'd like to make, come to the podium, please. State your name, your county of residence, and your concerns. Good morning.
Good morning, Council and President and County Executive. My name is Lynn Bratton. I live at 303 South Boulevard in Salisbury, Maryland. So not only am I a resident of Wicomico County and pay taxes in Wicomico County and have for many years, I'm also a resident of City of Salisbury. And I'm simply coming today to present a concern that seems to have surfaced within the city budgets about the fire service area. I don't have prepared remarks, but from what I'm understanding, from my interpretation of what I've read, there is this ability for the Salisbury City Fire Department to respond to a Salisbury City area outside of the city limits to provide health and safety and fire services. And it seems as though, from what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, that there is a lack of reimbursement of some funds or some inequalities in funding. And I simply am coming to you today to say it's a moral decision to keep those services in place because people can have unhealthy and unpleasant results if they don't have those services. But at the same time, as a city and a county resident, it bothers me that my funds are being zapped into that area as well without some equal compensation. So I just lay that before you as a concern, and I hope that you can figure out a way to come up with some sort of a program or an agreement that could help to rectify those budgetary discrepancies and move forward so that everybody can stay healthy. Thank you for your time and service.
Thank you, Mr. Bratton. Thank you. Any other public comments?
Good morning. My name is Joe White, and I am a resident of Wicomico County. The concern I'm bringing to today is just to ask all of you in the council and with the executive is to continue to do research on the proposed park out at Rockawalken for the West Metro. I'm a volunteer with the Parks and Rec for Wicomico County, have been for a few years, and I also work with the Hebron Parks and Rec. I've attended some meetings with some other local parks and recs in Sharptown and worked with Mardella. There's a disconnect in the communication right now that can be rectified. The usage of the park, who would have access to it, and what facilities would actually be in the final stage. I know that you're going through a survey plan. I know quite a bit of money is being spent to make sure that that's done properly. But you have a lot of stakeholders in this county, volunteers and commissioners from in small towns, particularly on the west side where this park is being built, who, from my understanding, have not had a chance to be in on the planning phase prior to the survey being done. I'm only asking that you don't have a rush to judgment. Make sure that all of your stakeholders have had a chance to be heard. We do have some gaps in the Parks and Rec programming. We have facilities that we don't have that are not baseball diamonds right now. That doesn't seem to be as much of a concern as we don't have a soccer complex. And we also only have one gym that's available to be rented by the public, and it's all the way in Bivalve. As a coach of a girls team, we don't have a lot of girls programming right now. We have none. That I know of, and it's impossible for us to get down to Bivalve to rent a gym so we can play, down there. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other public comments?
Good morning. Jim Atkins, Wicomico County. Just want to speak for a moment about the situation with Bering Creek Road. I've looked through the budget pretty much as a layman can, and I don't see any allocations for any work to be done on Bering Creek Road, either to close it permanently or to rebuild it. We're at 7 years Next year, when we talk about the budget, we'll be at 8 years that road has been closed. What's happening with that road? A little bit more than $200,000 was spent this past year in architectural plannings and drawings, and still haven't seen them, don't know what they're talking about. The state EPA is against that road being rebuilt or reopened. The county has expressed concerns about the liability if somebody gets hurt down there. There are also environmental concerns because each of the heavy rains that we have, such as we had last month, deteriorate the road more, drops more asphalt into the water, which flows out into the Nanticoke River. So some kind of decision needs to be made on Barron Creek Road, one or the other. As I've said before, either fix it or close it properly to keep people from trying to use it. After being closed for 7 years, you would be amazed how many people still turn off Route 50 to try to come across Barron Creek Road, even though there are road signs that say road closed, dead end, local traffic only. They still turn off there, and they'll continue to turn off there until that road is closed properly. So as I say, again, I don't see anything in the budget this year to do anything with it, one way or the other. So I'm hoping that something can be done or will be done to get that road either fixed or close it off properly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. Any other public comments? Morning. Good to see you. I lost a $5 bet. I told Shane you weren't going to be speaking today.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
So
that was easy money for him.
if you get it off of him, man, celebrate that.
Right?
Yeah, celebrate that. He squeaks when he walks. Good morning. First off, congratulations on such a brief council meeting. Wow, I attribute that solely to the leadership of the council president and his direction of the flow of this meeting, and to no one else other than him.
We're not done yet. You have half an hour to talk.
I wasn't here at the last meeting when you had rescheduled to have the delegation here, so I just kind of wanted to touch on a few things. I don't know if they were touched. If you had any questions that you weren't able to ask last week, if you wanted to ask this week, that's why I came by to hang out with y'all. I wanted to start off first talking about some of the wins we've had during session, working with the executive's office. I want to thank Laura Hurley for always being prompt anytime we need anything, her and her team. Each of you, I want to congratulate Councilman Wynn on his first piece of legislation being passed for Sunday hunting. That was no easy task, brother. Getting a hunting bill passed in Annapolis in this climate. So congratulations, man. It was good having you up there for the bill hearing. And I wish you had been there when the legislation was signed last week, but I got something for you. So to celebrate what you did, because that is very difficult. The last Sunday hunting bill that we tried to pass for Wicomico took 3 years to get done. We got yours done in one. So that's a credit to you, my man. Speaking of legislation, the Sanitary Commission, that was awesome. We had the Chesapeake Bay Foundation sitting with us, proving once again that we transcend the political divide and the philosophical differences that are perceived across the state. So it's again, it was a great session in the budget. The executive's office reached out, had a couple of things they wanted funding for. Once again, we received funding for all of her projects. We had the governor down here looking at the airport and is interested in doing even more to help with that, especially facilitating the program with UMES at the airport, which I think is a boon to our entire economic existence here on the lower shore. And I want to touch real quickly on a couple things that were discussed while we weren't here to kind of follow up on them. One being when you had the discussion about the dispensary, and you kept the disparity grant kept being brought up. Those things are not related in any fashion. As the author of the bill to restore disparity grant funding, I know those things aren't connected, but I followed up because I know that we got a letter from the Attorney General's office. I was going to say AG, but we'll say Attorney General's office, and I know that that was deemed not sufficient, so I reached out to committee leadership and House leadership, and they said that if they remove the disparity grant for Wycomico County, separating from the dispensary system, they'd have to do it for everybody, because every other county that receives disparity grant funding already has done away with their alcohol dispensary system. So that's not going to happen. So we can put that aside, and we can focus on the local impacts, whether or not we want to move into the mart of competitive commerce or to stay the way we are. It's up to you. I will do, as always, whatever you ask me to do in Annapolis, and we'll move forward. I know that there's a commission that's been put together, and so we await the results of that. But we did see an increase in disparity grant funding this year, which was pretty fortuitous, I think. And we saw an increase in highway user revenues, and it was good to see roads being paved throughout the county. So I think we're definitely moving in the right direction, especially in a time where we may be looking, I think we are already in an economic slowdown. And so that the fact that we're able to be more prudent with our dollars makes us wiser than ever. So the other thing, I saw some stuff with some appointments shifting away from the chair of the delegation to just a Wycomico resident. I as a Wycomico resident, I'd like to see, I saw some appointments with the county executive and her team, and there's some changes she wanted to make, and I think you should give her team. And if she succeeds or fails, it's based on her own merits and not anything else. And, I took a little bit of offense personally, not as, I'm speaking as me now, to kind of the disparaging of folks who don't have a bachelor's degree. I took that, it struck a nerve a little bit because I don't have a bachelor's degree. But I'm pretty qualified, I think, to do a lot of different jobs. And, everything we've done in Annapolis, I've done without a bachelor's degree. And when I heard that, you wanted a bachelor's degree required for certain jobs, if it's pertinent to it, that's fine. But I'll give you an example. I was applying for a job with a local firm. I've always wanted to be an architect or in planning, and I was told that if I had a bachelor's degree in basket weaving, I could get hired. Basket weaving, what's that got to do with? So it's just kind of, I think we need to do kind of what the president's done, both presidents, the former president, the current president, the former governor, the current governor, where they're looking at experience and life experience and giving folks who didn't have the traditional path educationally to have the opportunity to stretch and spread their wings and to fly and see what they can do, because I think we're missing out on a huge talent pool. And I may be speaking personally because that affects me directly, but that's what it is. So anyway, moving back, shifting the page back to the delegation. Again, I want to thank each and every one of you for your help during the legislative session, and I think we had a great year. And so if you have any questions, if not, I look forward to hearing what the priorities are for next year. I'd like to get started with that sooner than we did last year, so we can move forward quicker and get as much done as we can.
Got a few more minutes, Carl, if you want to keep talking.
Really? So how was y'all's week? Good. Joe, how you been, brother? Things going well out at the Emporium?
I'm fine.
Good, my man. Absolutely. Josh, good to see you back, man. I was praying for you, brother. Believe it or not, I do pray. It may not show, but I do. So, Miss Shaney, how you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Good. All right.
I'll be calling you.
All right. It's good to see y'all wearing suits today too. It's nice, man. Absolutely. I got to step my game up. I think that's all I got. Unless you don't have anything, man. I love you guys, and I'll see y'all real soon.
Thank you.
Thank
Yep.
you. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Carl.
Any other public comments? Seeing none. Council comments.
I think this is just minor. I was looking at, how we do proclamations, and I just wondered if maybe we could do work sessions before we have signings on them, just to make sure that everyone's okay with doing every single proclamation. And every single proclamation that I've looked at, and I'm absolutely okay with. I just think if maybe there's going to be a time where maybe not everybody does agree with a certain proclamation, and then if we don't sign it, then we're that guy. And I just don't want that to happen to anyone. And like I said, everything that's showed up, I'm fine with every single proclamation. I agree with them. I'm just thinking of maybe the process of, and I know it might take a little bit longer. I'm just thinking of the process of us all coming together, making a decision on doing certain ones and maybe not certain ones. So that's just my comment. That's a little detail, but it's just my comment.
Any other comments?
I just want to say, since Delegate Carl is here.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to make a public request. There's a neighborhood in West Salisbury, my district, that there's 3 homes that I believe needs to be torn down or condemned to find funding. And I understand there's community block grant money available to do that. So I'll write you a letter and to Cherie also, and because it's been needed for years and years and years. And I gave a tour to the county executive and showed her the homes. So I think if just do one, and I'm not saying it'd be done this year, of course, but
We'll get them all.
I'll send you pictures and all of those homes.
So we'll jump right on.
Okay, thank you.
Any other council comments? Josh?
I should briefly say thank you. For a couple of years now, we've been working on the issue of traffic down Camden Avenue, and the county executive did a great job. I'm trying to let me back up and say from all angles, the traffic that comes up and down Camden Avenue here in Salisbury. There's the folks in Fruitland have been working on their side of things. Salisbury University, the city of Salisbury's obviously done a lot of things to try to maintain traffic, and then the county too. So after a couple of years of working on that, yesterday it was great to be able to see officially that we're dropping the speed limit, at least between Pinehurst and K Avenue. So that's been something that's been happening for a couple of years, and we've a lot of process and effort into that. It's of course not going to be the end to try to address the traffic, but it's helped. So and Mr. Anderson too, I should say, Delegate Anderson has also been part of it. So thank you all for that.
Well, one more thing. I just wanted to let the gentleman know that I have heard the concerns about the soccer fields, and I do know that we don't have many here. So that is, I heard you. Okay? Just to let you know. Yep.
Under presidential comments, James, I would address what you said. That's a good idea. What I would suggest, if there's a majority of council members that want to have a work session, I certainly wouldn't want to take the council's time for a work session on every proclamation.
Yeah.
But if there's concern that comes up, and we certainly have a majority of the council that has similar concerns, we would look into that. In reference to the fire service agreement, Ms. Bratton, thank you for being here. I know you stay very active. Mostly, I know you're in the city, a lot of the city council meetings. We appreciate your activity there. Reference to the fire service agreement, we have updated it. From the last meeting that I witnessed with the city, there were some, I think, a little bit of misinformation that was sent out. We met with the city of Salisbury and trying to create some honest exchange and negotiations with them. We have also put into the budget a 25% increase, and that's without negotiations. We put a 25% increase into play right away. So often they're saying, well, there's 15,000 calls that the city's making. 5,000 of those 15 go out into the county. That could very well be true. We don't have those numbers, but that could very well be true. I think what we also need to take into consideration is that there are many, hundreds of calls from Willards or from Mardella or from Hebron or from Parsonsburg that actually go into the city as well. It's called mutual aid. So out of those 5,000 calls, that could go down to 2,000. We have no idea. And that's simply what we have asked the city of Salisbury to do, is to give us the true numbers. Over and above mutual aid, exactly what do you think it is and what do we owe you? And we'd love to work with you on that. So we did, as I said before, all that aside, we still did, put in for a 25% increase. And we certainly are going to look forward to making another attempt to work with the city of Salisbury to try to get all the data that's necessary to actually understand what it is per cost, over and above their reimbursements for insurance costs as well. Because, we want to make it happen, and I think we firmly do believe in a per call fee formula. You know, you get paid for what you do. So much so, I think that's a much better solution than adding another layer of taxation on the public as a whole. So we're anxious to get that moving forward. We've gotten ahead of the game with the extra $250,000 that we put into the budget, but how that gets distributed to the city, we'd like to have more exact science. So anyway, that's where we are from a county perspective. So we are in full cooperation with the city. That being said, I have about 3 pages here to read for the adjournment statement. Entertain a motion to adjourn from legislative session to go into an open work session followed by a closed work session pursuant to the general provisions, Article Section 3-305B1 and 9 as follows: to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of employees, appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction for the acting director of public works, to protect the privacy of the individual, and to conduct collective bargaining negotiations or consider matters that relate to the negotiation to protect the collective bargaining strategy. That's a motion. Motion, second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Aye. Motion's carried. Legislative meeting is adjourned. Let me find out where we are now. First open work session is an update on the Wycomico County Department of Health. We have the Health Officer Brandy Wink here with us.
Is that guy?
Mr. Matthew McConaughey, Health Officer. Yeah, okay. Thank you. How is everybody?
Doing well.
If you could just state your name and your positions for those who are watching today.
Brandy Wink, Director of Administration.
Matthew McConaughey, Health Officer.
And Stephen White, Director of Environmental Health.
Sorry?
Steve White, Director of Environmental Health.
Thank you. Good to have you here. Welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And it's a joy to be able to be here with you all, and I look forward to serving the community. To get started, we want to address your concerns and give you an update on what our septic permitting looks like. So I will give you an update on what is considered the backlog or the standing permits prior to January 17th, 2023 of this year. Overall, we had 54 applications in that category still available. We have completed 28 of those, and we have 26 open applications to date. Of those 26, 22 of those we are waiting on response from the homeowner, and the remaining 4 are other applications or other concerns or reasons that are still open. Currently, we're looking at 72 overall applications. This is January 17th to date, to May 10th. We've completed 23 of those applications with 49 remaining open. We're currently at a 38-day period average business day completion rate for those. As far as land evaluation goes, as of May 10th, we had 114 overall applications, and we've had 91 not completed. We've completed 7, and the reason for these backlog is due to staffing issues as a concern and coordinating with MSD with dates for them to be able to come out and provide additional service. Steve, do you have any additions to add?
No, other than we are trying to hire additional staff to bring us back up into full staffing to try to get these backlogs taken care of. I conducted, I had interviews last week, and I have 2 that are very promising that I'm hoping to bring on staff. That should get us to where we need to be on staffing wise and get us moving forward on being able to attack these and get them brought up to date.
I had heard, and I don't remember the full extent to which Maryland Environmental Service was the work that we had, contract we had with them, but I heard that they had dropped the ball on what they were
doing with the county. Is that true? What's the latest with that, I guess?
As far as the contract goes, we have scheduled dates with them that they come out and provide service, as with MDE. So we are currently ongoing. We have dates set coming up, and we hope to expedite some of these land evaluations and permittings to further catch up on what is considered a backlog.
It wasn't so much that they had dropped the ball. There was some concerns with getting the contract signed and moving forward beyond what was originally done. We had to extend that out, and to do so took both sides to be able to agree on that. In the meantime, we were still trying to work on what we could without their assistance. Once we got that cleared up, we immediately were able to get some dates scheduled to get them back in here. Matter of fact, we have 2 days this week scheduled and 2 days next week scheduled. The concern that we have is that the staff from MES are not licensed environmental health specialists, and so they have to have one of us with them or somebody from MDE with them. They cannot make the decisions on their own. They can do the work, but we have to make sure that they are doing what is supposed to be done for each site.
And then one more question, just how many, I guess if we were to be at a baseline level where we were able to fully meet, our obligations internally, how many more staff members do we need to hire, or at least full-time?
I need 3 more. 2 are the trainees that I have, I'm hoping to get, and then I need a supervisor for the land side, because currently I'm doing that job as well as the director's job. So a lot of my time is taken up trying to coordinate a lot of the land side stuff. But yes, 2 more frontline staff, if you will, and I'm hoping to get them here very soon.
Thanks for coming. It's good meeting you. Seeing you on Zoom.
Yes.
I've got a couple, maybe Steve, Mr. White. Failing septics in occupied homes right now. I know you put those at the top of your list, so people, safety. At some point in time, they have to have holding tanks. Do we have holding tanks in Wacomico County?
Yes, we do.
How many do we have? Off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I really don't.
Do we have a half a dozen, or do we have 20?
There's probably more than that. I would say on the order of 15 to 20, with probably more in works. These are unfortunate. It's certainly not something that we'd like to do, but we have to go by what the soils and the properties tell us. A lot of these go on properties that are what we call postage stamp, 12,000 square foot properties that have absolutely no area for repair. And the only option we have, aside from city services, is a holding tank. And all holding tanks are written as an interim permit until such a time as city services are available to them.
You see anything, I know you don't have a crystal ball. Do you see anything in the works that's scientifically, technology-wise, that's going to be replacing the normal septic tank without city services? I know there's improvements being made all the time to think.
There are improvements being made all the time. I do not see any significant changes in septic design that's going to eliminate the need for holding tanks on some of these properties. There are some instances where we can give them the option of looking at a third party to have them come in and do an assessment. They may be able to come up with some sort of design, whether it's drip irrigation or undersized, which is something else that we can certainly do on some of these. They have that option to do so, and we are always open to looking at anything that anybody wants to submit to us to try to get away from a holding tank, but we also have to make sure that it meets all requirements.
And I will say that verification process does go to MDE for approval on those innovative designs.
Thank you.
Swing, thank you for taking the position of health officer during the interim. We appreciate you volunteering to accept that.
Not a problem.
And Mr. McConaughey, congratulations again. You lost me with some of the numbers, because you made a comment about 26 and 22 and 72 and 23, and then you went to 114 and 7, so. We're laypersons up here.
Okay, so let me go back and do this a little bit easier maybe. So overall, all subject permitting that we had before January 17th, we had 54 applications that were outstanding.
Prior to January.
Prior to January 17th. So 54 that were still in our to-do list.
Now, to cut you off real quick, I know that when MES originally was working towards that formula, they said they were going to spend 60% of their time on the priors and 40% of the time on the new applicants, but just go ahead.
So we completed 28 of those 54 for a remainder of 26 still open to date.
Those 26 that are open have been worked on. Just to clarify that, we did work on all 54 of those permits, but 26 of them are remaining open.
And 22 of that 26, we have sent letters, we have reached out to the homeowners, and we're waiting on response back.
What do you think that is? Because I think the last time that you were in here, you said the same thing, and all we hear are complaints. And I get it. We wouldn't bring MES in here if we didn't think we were having a problem. You know, Wycomico County, pretty much no different than any other county in the state of Maryland. But I was really confused by the fact that the homeowners or whomever it might be, the property owners, aren't responding. I'm not quite sure where that disconnect is.
And I'm not sure either, because we have sent multiple letters to these people. We have made phone calls to them to say, look, we've sent you the specs, we're waiting on a design to come back so that we can issue you a permit and you can take care of the issue that's going on your property. And we're just not getting the response. Sometimes it's a monetary issue where they're waiting to get, they have to pay somebody to do a design. Sometimes the property may have been in transfer and they've sold the property and they're just not responding back to us to let us know that the property's changed hands and that we're sending letters and calling people that shouldn't be. You know, there's a lot of that going on, a lot, I think, of confusion on their part between us and them. We've tried to make it, that's why we've resorted to making phone calls to try to make it as clear as possible, you know, instead of sending out a standard form letter, which may be confusing to most people. We try to call them and bring them up as that this is what we're expecting, we've sent you this. And in some cases, they've said, oh, I don't remember seeing that. Can you send that back to me? And we'll send them, obviously, the spec letter back to them, and then they proceed on at that point.
And then 4 just remain open from that time period, and that could be for various other reasons. And then from January 17th to May 10th, we have had 72 applications. We have completed 23 of those applications. 49 are still open. Of those 49, they're all replacements. That does not mean we have not started work on those. They're just currently open, waiting for documentation, innovative processes. So in our work time is about 38.1 days till completion of those applications.
And when we're calling it completion, that is when we actually issue the permit. We are trying to get out there as quickly as we can to these. Our turnaround time from when we received them, as he just stated, we had 54 from last year that were backlogged. Since January of this year, we've had 72 come in. I have 2 gentlemen out in the field working on these. And in that time, not only are they working on these, they're working on building permits. The weather's turned nice. A lot of systems are being installed. They're going out and doing inspections on all these systems. Since then, I've lost one of my environmental health aides that was helping with a lot of the stuff that was going on, so therefore it's dropped back onto them again. So they are doing a fantastic job of trying to get these things turned around. The numbers are telling us we're getting more. I had 4 come in for one gentleman one day. 4 repairs in one day for him to come in, you know, so they're doing a fantastic job trying to get these things turned around. The time that we get out on site is anywhere between 3.5 weeks from when we receive it. We're on site and have a letter sent out to these people so that some of these people are actually able to get us a design back quickly, and that's why the 38 days shows as well as it does. Others are taking longer. to get back to us, and that's why they're showing as open applications.
You say 49 are replacements. Is that holding tank? Is that a mound system?
It could be any kind of system. These are just, we're qualifying that as a replacement system. That's what the application is for. They're having an issue. They've applied to have a replacement done. So that's how it's qualified. It could be a holding tank. It could be innovative and alternative. It could be standard system, sand mounds, whatever.
Okay. We received invoices from what the MES was billing us, but I'll be quite honest with you, I had absolutely no idea what any of that meant. I don't know if there's an easier way to bring it in. I didn't know from it whether what they were doing was administrative or whether it was actually out in the field. Now, you said that these weren't certified engineers.
They're not licensed environmental health specialists.
Yes, I thought that's what we were, I thought that's what these circuit riders were supposed to be.
I can't speak to what the original intent was. I was never told that they would be environmental health specialists. I was just told we would be getting help coming in from MES. I don't know if...
That was my thought. That was my belief. I thought that was the only thing we were looking for.
And I believe that they're in the same boat as the rest of the state. There aren't any out there to be had.
So then I guess I'm kind of wondering if we got what we paid for. I'm not being cynical, I'm just curious.
And that's a very good question, but I believe we did, especially when it came to catching up on the septic permit backlog that we had. Those guys were fantastic in the field. They were very capable of doing what was told to them. They were, they had direction from either my staff or from MDE on what needed to be done. They were able to perform that work under their guidance, and all work was submitted to MDE for review and then given to me with recommendations on what to do at that point, or whether it was my staff, it came that way. As far
Shane, we can hear that. Thank you. Go ahead. Sorry.
As far as the land evaluations go, it's pretty much the same. They will be under the guidance of my staff or MDE to be told this is the work that needs to be done on this site, whether it's soil profiles, what type of perk test, what depth perk test to run, whether we need to set a pipe. They're certainly capable of doing the work. It's just that they cannot sign off on it or make recommendations. That has to come from one of our licensed specialists.
Just from my own understanding, so salinity in well water, for my day job, I work in natural resource and agriculture world. We've had multiple farmers who have had to move their pivot systems inland. You can't, yesterday I was driving over the bridge and, you can now see all the ghost forests very clearly in the Nanticoke, but now even the smaller streams that you'll pass right on Route 50. These, of course, as you all know, are from the salinity that is of sea level rise. I know we've had folks in Nanticoke and Tyaskin and others who have had issues, I guess, with salt in their well water. Are we currently, I guess, tracking or collecting, or what's the process for understanding how much of an issue this is? And and that, of course, I'm assuming we don't. There's plenty of homeowners who don't report their failing septic systems, let alone their any other kind of issues. So I guess anything you can say there as far as that issue?
I have not been tracking any of the saltwater intrusion. I know that we've had 2 or 3 wells that I know of as far as residential use go that have had some saltwater issues that were pretty much addressed by redrilling. But we certainly didn't track that, and it was not any great number or anything that would trigger us to take notice. Now, if the farmers are having issues in replacing them,
which is not a major problem, or it's expensive, but it's not a major problem.
Right, yeah. At this point, it's not anything that I'm seeing a great trend in.
Okay, cool.
So we talked about septics and wells. How's the staffing throughout the rest of the health department as far as other inspections and services that you do for citizens of the county?
Just for environmental health for the restaurant side, or are you talking?
Anything, yeah, anything.
Go ahead.
Well, I know we went on a large hiring spree last year. I think we've onboarded about 52 new employees. So we are coming back up to staff. There are still some positions that remain available and open. Our salaries are not as competitive as some of the area organizations. And ours are dictated by the state, so that kind of hinders us on some of our recruitment processes.
Yeah, it's been a struggle to hire some other positions as well, besides sanitarians, with social workers, nurse practitioners, and basically it's because the other either agencies or hospital in the area pay more than we are. So we do see that trend, not just with environmental health, but with some other professional positions here.
Morning. Welcome to Wycomico County.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
A little culture shock or about the same? Or?
I'm actually originally from Frederick, Maryland.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So,
yeah I remember from the interview. Yeah. But good. Anyway, welcome aboard. And Brandy, thank you for everything you've done. All these figures that you gave us, is it possible that you give us a monthly update? Because that would help us answer questions, the emails that we get from the constituents of, you know, hey, where are we at? How's the health department doing? And if you could give us just a monthly breakdown of where everything is, we could share that.
I think that's something we could potentially do.
Okay.
I just don't want to sign up my epidemiologist without talking to her first.
Right.
But these are all formed from pivot tables, so it should be relatively simple, but that's something we probably could provide.
Sure. I'm running neck and neck with septic and ferry questions right now, so, you know, just.
Anything we can do to assist y'all and kind of let the community know on what work we're doing to progress and really help out, that would be beneficial to both of us.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
They already have a template in place. I know, Steve, you and with prior health officer Lori Brewster were putting together, I believe, quarterly reports.
Yeah, I have 2 or 3 tables that I update daily as things come in and go out. So that would be fairly easy for our epidemiologist to help me set all that up, to break that down into quarterly reports, or we can even go to a monthly report, you know, something we could discuss with her and make sure that it's something we could then share with you.
Yeah, that'd be great. And we went to this length, Mr. McConaughey, because as Jeff suggested, we get more questions about this than we do anything else. They don't care about the budget. There's so much they don't ask about, but every time you run into someone somewhere, they go, well, what's going on with the health department? Why can't I get a permit? You know, and so we even went as far as to talk with MD and MDH as to what our degree of oversight could be, because they're state organizations. It's sort of a hybrid, as you know. And they said, yeah, full right. They sent out, you know, we had that discussion to give us that open door so that we could have a little, not really more control, but just a better understanding of how things are working. And it would also be something that the executive's office could use as well in trying to evaluate where we are and to answer the questions from the public in general. So
I believe in transparency in anything, so anything I can and I'm able to share, I'd be happy to prove that we're not trying to hide anything, we're not trying to do any wrong, we're just trying our best to do our job and help the community.
Great. And if you have any way of letting us know, I don't even know right now where we are with the original $50,000 we were spending with MES. I'm assuming we've gone beyond that. Have we approved more than that in the recent? We haven't. So I'm kind of curious as to where we, yes.
Yeah, we spent the $50,000, and then we did the amendment to the contract to increase it, but I think they've only, since the new contract, only worked a couple days so far.
Yep.
So we haven't been invoiced for any of that.
Okay, yeah, it would be really good to know, because we occasionally, I know Suzanne Dorsey was very helpful in trying to move this forward, and it'd be really nice to know when we meet with them periodically during the Water and Sewer Master Plan meetings to say, oh, by the way, just want to let you know that, she may need to give a little bit of a push to her people to say, let's make Wycomico County work. So if we could get some idea of what how the 50,000 was dispersed, what it accomplished, and what we feel we need going forward, because I think there's probably going to be another ask there.
And we can work on getting a report together that outlines the amount of service they provided during that initial 50 and what we've looked at going forward, as far as days of service and applications worked on, I think.
All right.
Let me ask you, this is just a thought. And you, how many positions are you looking to fill?
I have 2 on the land side plus a supervisor for the land side, so that's 3 on that side. And I believe I have 1 on the food side that needs to be filled. We recently had a very terrible.
Now, I'm just throwing an idea, and this is just what I'm thinking. So you have a couple of positions that are open. I don't know if you're going to ever be able to fill them anytime soon. I wonder, because we're lacking in competition, right? We're lacking in being able to afford to pay for more people, right? Is that what it is?
No, we're lacking in people who want to do the job and have the educational background to be able to do the job. Recently, in legislative session, they've lowered the amount of science credits, I believe, that are required to become a licensed sanitarian.
Yeah, I believe they changed it was the same amount of credits, but they've changed the lab work. It used to be you had to have 2 labs in separate disciplines. I think they've changed that now that you can actually have them in the same discipline, so that you're still getting the same requirements, but changing it up so that it's not as focused or as, in some cases, as broad. It opens it up to a lot of other people, and I've reached out to universities to let them know that this change has happened. Please let biology majors know, chemistry majors, all these people who are now eligible and can apply for these jobs, whether it's in Wicomico County or across the state. This is something that they need to look at. And like I said, I do have 2 that I have interviewed as of last week that if everything goes well, if I get all their documentation this week, I should be able to offer jobs to them coming up. So I should be able to get those 2 positions filled.
So it's not a money thing?
Money would help, definitely.
Yes. All right. Money would help, and obviously they are asking for more than base. The baseline pay for this job as a trainee is much less than private sector. And a lot of them can get much higher pay in private sector, and that's part of the problem we've had. Between them just flat out telling me, no, that's not enough money, or they go back to their current employer and say, oh, look, they've offered me, this is their base, then they use us as a stepping stone to get something out of their current employer and then come back to me and say, no, I'm not interested any longer.
What I was going to suggest, and I don't even know if it's a good idea, it's just an idea, it's just, if you had a position that wasn't as necessary because you just can't even fill it, could it be that you could maybe subtract some from it and add to the other budget to make it more enticing for people to hire up? I'm just, like I said, it's just an idea.
The way our funds work are kind of dedicated to a certain program, and it'd be hard to kind of reallocate from, say, a prevention grant into a environmental grant. That's kind of like...
Yeah, okay, I got you.
I'll tell you, in line with that, we did send, for your information, last year, we sent a letter to the state saying, do us a favor, extend the range, extend the salary range so that you can pay more money to these environmental engineers and specialists, and the county will cover the difference. I mean, that's literally what we told them. If you can change that range and add 10,000 or 20,000 to that position, we'll pay it. And Office of General Services came back and said, sorry, we're not interested. Am I right? Yeah.
And new administration now, so maybe...
Well, new administration is a good point, and maybe we need to go back to the state and sort of lobby for that, Bunky. Maybe that's something we need to do with our delegation, because it's a statewide problem, and I think it's a statewide, real serious problem.
Appreciated.
Yeah.
And we have ourselves looked into that and put forward for an ASR study for that salary scale. So we're we're trying to work towards a better future.
Sure.
And I would say the same thing, if you can put any pressure up at the state. The state for July 1 did do several ASRs. Unfortunately, it was not for the sanitarians, even though all the health departments had that as one of their #1 ASRs they would like to see. So any help would be great.
Okay, wonderful. Anybody?
I guess that's something we can discuss later.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Can I ask a quick one? Are there grants out there for people that are having to replace their systems?
The only grant that we have available would be through the Bay Restoration Fund. And that's a set amount that we get every year that pays for the best available technology or what they call BAT tanks, the nitrogen reduction tanks. If people meet certain income requirements, then they can qualify for drain field replacement as well.
That's what I'm talking about.
Those are few and far between. We do a few a year that the people do qualify for. We have, I think we've got 3 or 4 that we've done recently on those, but that eats up our funds. And next thing I know, I've got somebody who's in the critical area who is required to have the best available technology tank put in, and I don't have money to help them put that tank in. So they get put off until the next fiscal year, which is coming up in July, until we can get a renewal in funds to try to get them taken care of. So it's a very fine balancing act that we have to play to get these done. And not only that, but these systems have to go out on bid. It's not just something that we can just say, here's the system, get it done. It has to go out on bid. We have to get a minimum of 3 bids back. In a lot of cases, we don't get enough bids back. We have to send it back out on bid. And then if we don't get enough bids the second round, then we have to send a letter of explanation to the state explaining why we're going to go ahead and grant this. So it can be a lengthy process. It's certainly something worthwhile for anybody if they want to apply. I tell everybody who calls, they say, do you have money? We may not at this point. Get your application in. Always apply if it's something that you need to have done. Get it in here. We can at least get you on the agenda. If not, then we can get you moving forward maybe in the next fiscal year.
That has to be before they start the work, right?
Yes, it has to be before they start the work.
Any questions, comments you'd like to make? No? Okay. We appreciate you coming in. Thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to the exchange of information. That would be really helpful for us.
Yeah, I'll make sure to send this to Laura to get it out to y'all so you have what we talked about today.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Entertain a motion to adjourn from open work session to go into closed session.
So move.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We're going to take